Hello, everybody, and welcome to Chart Request Live. I am joined today by my esteemed colleague and co-host, Mr. Alfonso de Pablo, who's coming to us live from Great Britain.
Yeah,
How's it
that's
going,
correct.
Alfonso?
Everything good, everything good. Very happy to join you. Yeah, I'm in the UK for a couple months, visiting my sister. Lovely country, lovely weather because we're entering summer. So, it's very good to be here.
Cool. What's the weather like? It's very rainy here in Kansas this week, so it's making me
Well,
kind of sad. I want to see the sun again.
I don't know. I mean, I don't use Fahrenheit to be honest, but it is the perfect weather. It is fresh, not too cold.
Not as humid
Um,
as New Orleans, I hope.
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's for sure, man. That's for sure.
Cool.
We,
Just like as
we,
soon as I stepped outside in New Orleans, I was just drenched
yeah,
in
we
sweat.
just felt it.
Yeah, for
Yeah, that's
sure.
right.
Well, Alfonso, let's talk about the markets. There's a lot going on right now. Before we hopped on the show, we were talking about the ARK Innovation ETF. That's ticker ARKK. This is the flagship fund of the ARK fund universe. And this one, fun fact, actually has the highest short interest ever right now after, let's zoom out on this chart. So this one, it screamed higher after COVID, almost 400% in like a year. And then it suffered a 80% correction. And now the short sellers come into it after an 80% drawdown. I don't know, Alfonso. I think they're going to be wrong. Right now, we have a pretty tight bull flag resolving higher right at this VWAP anchored to the all-time high. So this looks amazing. What are you seeing under the surface? Are there any speculative stocks that have your attention? I know the space and exploration has also been of interest to you. The space mobile, I saw a little trade go out for that on the breakup
Yeah,
multiplier.
yeah. I mean, growth. Speculative growth stocks have been doing great. If you look and if you go one by one of the ARK ETFs, all of them are resolving higher from continuation patterns similar to the one you just made. Um, yeah, and on an individual level, I mean, if you drop the RKX, that's exploration and innovation. For me, that's the best looking one. If you zoom out, you will see prices pressing against that shallow former highs from 2021. That's a monster base. It's probably the first ARK ETF coming back and retest the prior autumn highs from 2021, right?
Yeah.
So that's a monster base. On a short term, we're resolving higher from these flag patterns. And when you look under the surface, one of my favorite stocks right now, right here, it's ASTS, to be honest.
For sure.
It's been coiling in a tight pattern for 9 months now. It's trying to reclaim the VWAP from the pivot highs from March, and when these things go, they really go.
To say the least, Alfonso, this one went like it rallied 2000% in a straight line. So yeah,
well,
they go.
yeah, well, exactly. And not only that one, I mean, all of them, they're looking good. The risk reward is so attractive at this point. And when I went to say, I mean, when speculative growth is going and it's participating, these ones, as we are seeing in the chart, these ones can go vertical. So I like a lot. And if we reclaim that big from the all-time high, I think this one has a lot of potential. I can see it at 63, not even at 40 at the 161, but at the 261 around 63, 64. So this one, has catch my attention for sure.
And I'm going through the ARK X holdings. So that's the ARK Space Exploration and Innovation ETF that we were just looking at here, and they do not hold the ASTS. I
They
find that
don't.
very interesting. That's kind of like a blue chip space stock. So I don't know what they're doing over there at ARK, but I think that should definitely be in there. So the top
Right.
holding is the Kratos, that's ticker KTOS. That is a fan favorite around here at Chart Request Live. I think we've charted that at least a dozen times here live on this show.
It makes sense. Just look at the chart.
Yeah, let's pull it up.
That's a
That's a
solid
sick chart.
breakout. It's up 4% today. That's a massive base. Yeah.
Yeah, this looks amazing. This is one of the best bases out there. This kind of looks like you don't have this drawdown, but like it looks like Europe kind of is what it reminds me of. You know,
Mhm.
those great financial crisis bases, just gorgeous. What else, Alfonso? Anything we should talk about, or should we just get into the mailbag?
Let's take a look at some tickers from from the mailbox. Nick, let's start with Nick. He's asking us about CNQ entry
Hey.
and price target.
Yes, so this is the Canadian Natural Resources, a $65 billion oil and gas exploration and production stock. And I'm looking at the wrong one here. This is listed on the TSX and it's listed on the NYSE. So let's look at the NYSE listed version here. And yeah, this is looks a lot like ExxonMobil. Or let's just overlay the charts. So yeah, both of them had massive rallies in the early 2000s, then just went absolutely nowhere for a few decades, and are recently breaking out above those former highs and really turning the former resistance into support. So that's what I see here.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these big energy names, whether from Canada or the US, already broke out of a monster base. You can see Conoco, for example. That's another example, right?
Yeah,
And they have been just coiling, just consolidating right above that breakout level. I think the risk reward is very well defined at that power cycle highs from, I don't know, what, 17 years ago.
yeah, that was the
Around,
2008 peak. It
yeah,
comes
around
in right
77.
at, call it $27.
Yeah, 27, it's perfect. So, for me, as long as we're about 27, I think you can give it a shot. But let's see when energy starts to participate again, right?
And that's the thing, Alfonso. Like energy just isn't really working. There's certainly pockets of strength out there, but just looking at the XLE as a whole, it's not that attractive in my opinion. You know, you look at crude oil futures here, and it's resolving this pretty textbook distribution pattern. It's had several chances to get back above that broken support, and it's just refused to do so. So I think you need to give the Bears the benefit of the doubt that this is a valid top and that this is in a new downtrend after several years of sideways action. So that's the way I'm seeing it. I mean, you could get cute with it. I know some of the guys on our team have tried to jump this as a failed breakdown, but I
Yeah,
think that's a difficult
but
trade. And we were talking about all the speculative stocks that are working. There's so much working in this market right now. So why do you need to force an energy trade when it's really
yeah,
not there?
and we have to see it, right? I mean, energy has been, consolidating in a big way for the past 2 or 3 years. But for me, this is a great chart, but XLE, exactly, that's the chart, right? Until we didn't see energy XLE breaking out of this monster base to new highs, I'm not touching it, to be honest. I'm
Yeah,
not touching it. I'm not anticipating a breakout. It is a hot mess for me. And let's call it 95. Let's call it 100 for XLE, right? So as long as we're below those two levels, it is a mess. And I would prefer to stay, in the sidelines.
totally. I love how you put that. It's a hot mess. I think
Yeah,
that's exactly right. And it's the only sector in the S&P 500 out of the 11 sectors that is still below that great financial crisis peak. So if this is a bull market, I think the odds favor that this eventually resolves higher. But for me, I want the market to prove it to me. I don't want to anticipate a breakout here and end up sitting in a sideways trend for another year because that is just a ton of opportunity cost, especially in a raging bull market like we're in right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
Well, let's talk about something else, Alfonso. What do we
Yeah.
have in the mailbag?
Daniel wants to take a look at ZS.
Cool.
Yeah. Looking for a long over a period of 3 months.
So this one has been popping up on my junior Hall of Famers scan quite a bit recently, and you know, Alfonso, I've got to be honest with you. The chart that this most reminds me of is, I believe it's Cloudflare, ticker net.
Oh, the net.
It looks exactly like the net. So, like, you get this massive uptrend off the COVID lows. You peak in November 2021, nasty drawdown into a prolonged sideways period. And then net also carved out this handle of a pretty textbook cup and handle pattern, but it resolved it before Zscaler. So
Mhm.
Cloudflare really, I think, is what we should be anticipating in the Zscaler. And look at it broke out right here in December and just soared higher. So it went from 105 to 170 in like literally less than 2 months.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So that's really where my head's at with the Zscaler. This is a beautiful chart pattern. Shout out. Who did you say brought this one along?
Daniel.
Daniel. Man, you've got a good eye, Daniel. This is a beaut. I mean, look at this. So 266 really is the line in the sand. I think you could also jump it with this pivot high from February. So that could get you in at 259. So
Yeah.
save $6 if you're interested in that. But I think we're gonna know it when we see it, Alfonso. This breakout, in my opinion, will be decisive. We'll get one of those God candles, maybe 10% up in a day or something like that, and then I think
Will
this one
you
could be
expect,
trading at 377 before long, maybe a month.
yeah, uh, will you expect some kind of consolidation and maybe some kind of pause here? Seeing the last few
No,
candles.
I think it's
No?
about to break out, Alfonso, if I'm being honest with you. I think it's gonna rip right through this level. It's already acknowledged it here in February. So I think the bag holders have been unloading here for the last several months, and or really this has been more than a year's worth of consolidation here as the bag holders from the last cycle have been distributing their stock to the market. So I think this one's ready to go. I think if it's above this 266 level, I honestly don't think it's going to take long to get to that former high from November 2021, which is about
Right.
100 points of upside.
I like it. I like it. And we're talking about a big trend reversal here. You have the 61 retracement level, 260 for me. It's the level to watch here. And you break it above the level, I think you can. I think we're heading towards 377, 378, back to the all-time highs, and then we will see if we break out of that monster base and we're heading 550. But it's looking good.
It's looking very good. Yeah, and this
Hmm.
is a $40 billion stock too. So this
Well,
is not,
earnings in today, right?
yeah, that's a great point. Let me
Yeah.
pull up my earnings chart on my other screen here, see how this one's been reacting to earnings. So, yeah, March of this year, it was up 3% after earnings. Yeah, I think, yeah, earnings could be a catalyst to get this one going, Alfonso. That's a great point you raised there.
Nice.
So let's see. The market is expecting 75 cents in earnings per share and $666 million in revenue, which is pretty small considering this company is worth $40 billion.
Wow.
The market must be pricing in some pretty significant growth in the future.
Hmm.
All right, what else do we have, Alfonso?
Danny wants to know RKT and TWLO time frame 3 to 6 months.
Twilio and RKT.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, let's go with the Twilio.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this one was an absolute beast from that 2018 low to the 2021 peak.
Mhm.
Almost got a 20 bagger out of the Twilio during that time. What a move that was. This one has just been in the doghouse for the last few years, trying to carve out an accumulation pattern, and it looks to be pretty
Yeah.
close to resolving that and resuming its long-term primary uptrend. So
Yeah, and for me the key here is drop a VWAP from the all-time highs, price is right there.
yeah,
That's the big level.
that's a great point, Alfonso. That's a very good level to define risk against. I call it 118 right now. I like that a lot. And then you can get confirmation here at these February pivot highs, which come in
Mhm.
more like 150. So you could get like 30 points of upside before you get that confirmation. Maybe add to your position on strength above there. I like that a lot. So let's see if there's some Fibonacci retracements that could help us. So yeah, maybe this is a good level to look to take some profits in the
200
future.
or yeah.
Big psychological round number, that could be a good one. I'm also looking at that 61.8 retracement just below 300. And you can see that that was support up here at the top. So I would expect some bag holders to be up there and to bring some supply online of the Twilio. But this one looks great. Been a
Yeah,
while since I've looked at this chart.
it's shaping up very nice. Yeah, like a confirmation. The first step is to reclaim that VWAP from the all-time highs. A good confirmation if we can reclaim that pivot highs from early in the year. Um, and for some targets, potential targets, I like the way you're doing it with the retracement 200, 300, and then 450 back to the all-time highs. But everything starts if and when we reclaim the VWAP from the all-time highs. I think you can define risk there, and this is a classic trend reversal underway.
For sure. And Alfonso, I see there's a lot of action in the chat here. We've got Wavy McFly in the house. We've got Alexander, H.
Yeah,
Chan, Donovan, the whole crew's here. So
yeah,
is there anything
and
else in
that's great.
the mailbag?
And and I'm seeing good tickers in the
Yeah,
chat.
me
But
too.
before go to the chat, let's take a look at the last one in the mailbox from Jonathan. We'd love to hear your projections on CCJ.
Hey, a lot of people have been talking about this one recently,
It's
given the
breaking out.
action.
Do you think this one is the real breakout? Just look at this
Yeah,
monthly.
man, I have no reason to believe it's not. It's been really messy up here at this 2007 peak. You acknowledged it for the first time in May 2024, tried again late last year, failed, and here you are again. So is the third time the charm? I think it
It
certainly
will
could
be
be.
the highest monthly closing ever. So that's huge for me.
Fair
And
point.
all these nuclear stocks has been ripping higher. The Okilo, SMR. Wow, I mean, yeah, this one looks amazing. So CCJ has been ripping higher in the past few days, in the past few weeks, right? And we're talking about a monster base. Sometimes they need time to break out, but over the long term, this base it's really constructive, to be honest. About
Totally.
55, 56. I mean, why not?
Yeah, I mean, look at how this one traded. I'm not saying this one's gonna rally 3,000% over the next decade. But I think that's kind of the way we need to be thinking about this. You know, this one's gone absolutely nowhere since 2007, and it's just now breaking out of that base. So, you know, in my head, this one really could just the sky's the limit with this one, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the bigger the base, the higher in the space, right?
That's exactly right, Alfonso. Yeah. Only $26 billion in market cap here. This is the largest. This is like the Exxon Mobil of
Uranium.
uranium. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's the way I
exactly.
think of it.
Yeah.
And it's $26 billion. And then you look at Exxon Mobil, which is what?
This one could
$446 billion. It's just
this one could
apples to oranges
can double in in the longer time frame. So
for sure. I think a lot more than that. Looking over the
like,
next decade, I think this one's up at least 1,000% over the next decade.
wow,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Nice.
I'm mark it down, Alfonso. We'll come to back to this episode in a
I
decade.
will. I will.
Cool. What else should we talk about?
Let's start with the chat. Let's start with Wavy, long CPA. Let's take a look at that one. Ooh, nice.
Ooh, an airline, $4.5 billion airline. Is this one?
This one is
from
from.
Panama.
Yep.
Hey,
Yep. That's interesting.
that is interesting. So yeah, great eye here, Wavy. So you have this long-term downtrend line coming into play here. And then you have a shorter term little coil here. I see where your head's at, Wavy. This is nice. Let's see if there are some Fibonacci retracement levels we could trade against. And sure enough, wow, Fibonacci is like magic. It comes in right where I was expecting it to at that 110 level. So, and we're just below that right now. And you can see that has been resistance before. That was resistance just before the epic COVID crash. So if the CPA is above 110, I see no reason for it to not get to 163 before long. Looks great.
Yeah, it looks great. That's a nice base. I think if we break above that 110 level, yeah, I think you can give it a shot. Not only we're breaking above a key retracement level, but a long-term downward trend line, right? That's like a confluence of resistance. So if we can break above that level, yeah, I think you can give it a shot to the upside. That's for sure.
Totally, yeah. Yeah, just remember that airlines are like probably the worst business out there in the world. So you know, this is a bull market. Is an airline really your preferred way to express a bullish thesis in this market? You know, for me, I'm never going to trade an airline, most likely. You know, there's almost always something better out there to trade.
Yeah, I agree with you, but
But the
doesn't
risk
look.
reward is clean here. You know, if it's
Yeah,
for you,
exactly,
then here
exactly.
it is.
Doesn't look too bad, to be honest. I mean,
No,
it's setting up. The risk level is very well defined. It's getting tight for the past couple of years. A confluence of resistance around 110. If you want to give it a shot, feel free to do it. It's not the worst airline out there.
that's
So
true. Yes, this is relative strength inside of the airline industry. So.
I mean, if you look like American Airlines, that chart sucks. For example.
Yeah. That's disgusting, Alfonso. Why did you make me look at this? I don't want to look at this.
I don't know. I
This
didn't
chart
put it
is
there.
so ugly. Is this a zero?
I mean, it looks more like a top information, like a continuation pattern there, right?
It's like an inverted cup and handle pattern.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But let's see. Let's see.
That's how I see it. Yeah, so I think you can just mark the American Airlines as a zero. This one is $7.75 billion, so like 50% more than the CPA that we were just looking at.
Yeah.
Nasty chart. And then we can look at the Jets ETF too. So this holds all of the U.S. airlines, and
It's a
boy,
mess.
is this nasty. I mean, this is just
It's a mess. Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, the best airline, what it's SkyWest.
yeah, I
That
think so.
one,
Yeah, I think that one's
yeah,
making new all-time highs.
yeah, that one looks, better. Even Ryanair the other day, yeah, I was in Ryanair, a flight with Ryanair, and not the best one, but the chart looks better than the other ones. So I don't know
Totally,
what
totally.
are they doing, but they're not the most comfortable seats, or the process, but it looks better than than the rest. So that's interesting.
That's a great point, Alfonso. Yeah, this one just resolved pretty textbook, almost a decade accumulation pattern here. So this looks great.
But
I
now
would
let's
almost
take a
call this
look.
a wedge, long-term wedge.
Enough about airlines.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, enough of that. Let's take a look, Alexander. Three tickers. Let's take a look real quick. FLR, STX, and the Lemonade. That one, it's probably my favorite right now. That's a huge chart. It's
Hey,
up.
this STX looks pretty good too, Alfonso.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Wow, nice.
Let's talk about this one. So this is a $25 billion computer company, almost a 3% dividend yield there. So this one's coming to you from Fremont, California. Shout out Fremont. And yeah, here you are. Let's see when earnings are. We just had earnings and
We're speaking of
price
a big
rallied
body,
11.5%.
right?
So let's see. That was the best earnings reaction um, since January of 2017.
Wow.
So yeah, you got a little earnings momentum thrust here, and that has carried the stock to new all-time highs here.
No, beautiful. I mean,
Shout
beautiful.
out Alexander for bringing this one along. This is a beauty.
Yeah, and if you zoom out, yeah, exactly, a little bit more to the 2021 peak. It's some beautiful base. We might expect some consolidation here, right? Right after this massive vertical line from
For sure.
from last month.
For sure.
But
This still could be the highest weekly close of all time, though.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's looking good. And and when we zoom out, we're trying to take out that per cycle high from 2021. That's a monster base. 118 as you're marking it up right now. That's the big level. Any break at about 118, I like it long. I would say target 161. Below 118, I will leave it alone. I will give it some more time to for the buyers to digest some of the recent gains and absorb all the overhead supply at this key resistance level. But this one, it's beautiful. That's a nice base, and the relative strength lately, very impressive.
Totally, Alfonso. Yeah. And this one has been kind of absorbing that overhead supply since last
Yeah.
summer, too. Like it got back to that former high in July of last year. So,
Look, and the way it recovered the recent decline, speaking of a B bottom,
yeah, that's a V right there if I've ever seen it.
right? So the
Yeah.
price wants to be right there, absorbing overhead supply around 115, 118. I think a breakout here is imminent. Maybe just give it some times to digest some gains in the short term, but I think a breakout it's coming on this one. And the other one that Alexander sent us is the Lemonade. We just put a trade for breakout multiplier. We just bought calls for July. And the stock looks so good. The stocks look so good. That big one, it's key right now. Also, if you drop the VWAP from the cycle lows from the 2023 lows, things are getting tight. And when we get this tight, we can expect a wild expansion in volatility in either direction. We don't know. I'm betting to the upside on this one. And the upside potential, it's huge, and it's one of the most shorted stocks out there, right?
Is that right? Let me look it up here.
Well, it's every time that you drop the freshly squeezed list,
Yeah.
it is eliminated in the table. So
Got 29% short interest, 8 days to cover.
look, this is the perfect setup, right?
It
The
is,
stock is
yeah.
getting tight. It held a key level around 25. Right now, it's bouncing. It's trying to break out from that channel that you just dropped, right? So I like it, and the short interest make it spicier. So
And when you zoom out too, Alfonso, this could be the
yeah,
resolution of a textbook bearish to bullish reversal pattern that over longer time frames could ultimately take this one back towards that peak from January 2021 around 188. So like, that's not going to happen this quarter, this week, this month, but 500% over the next 16 months is definitely plausible here.
yeah, it's very appealing, to be honest. But yeah, I think 77. It could be a potential first target here.
Yeah.
So
So that's
yeah,
that Fibonacci retracement level.
yeah, 78 around that area. I like it. But this one, it's one of my favorites. That's for sure, my man.
I love it, Alfonso. Yeah. I think those calls are going to pay very handsomely.
I hope so. The setup is there, you
It
know.
is. And this one can move. So this one last October, let's see what it did. In 4 weeks, this one doubled. No, not doubled. It went 200%, not just
Wow. Yeah.
100%.
This one
So,
is
this one
insane.
could really move. And if you get that short squeeze going, those moves can really go vertical. So,
Look, and if it's go, yeah, another 200% will split the stock just above 90, under 100. So that's a
yeah.
3x from
Yeah,
here. So yeah,
I'm here
I
for
like
it.
I like these names. I like these names. I like the juice on these names, to be honest. So far, my favorite one. I really like it.
Shout out, was it Alexander that brought this one
Yeah,
along?
Alexander. Yeah.
And Alexander has a good eye. I
Now
see.
let's take a look at Toast. Toast, real quick.
Cool. Looks like this one's from H Chan.
Yep, that's correct.
This is the Josh Brown special right here. I always hear him talking about the toast. He's been talking about it for years, ever since this one went public in 2021. I guess this company is revolutionizing the restaurant industry with their technology. So this one is from Boston, almost $25 billion in market cap, and I don't really like these Fibonacci retracement levels, so I'm just going to mark this up
Yeah.
like this. I think you can trade it against this pivot high from November of last year, and that could take you to the all-time high from November of 2021, which is
Mhm.
right. It's just like 7 pennies shy of $70. So almost a double here in the toast is what you're looking at. And here's how I see it, Alfonso. This looks like a little cup and handle action.
Very simple. Yeah, I think that's the way to look at it. If you miss it right at 27, I think that was the first confirmation of a valid trend reversal. That pivot highs from July 2023, February 2023. Toast is giving us another opportunity to define risk and maybe take a shot, but we need to be above 44. If we're not above 44, at least for me, I will leave it alone. It will, it will tell me, it needs a little bit more time, but I like this base from November, from last year. So yeah, I like that one.
This is one of those setups that you're like okay with chasing higher and not catching that exact breakout level because If the breakout is valid, then this one's probably going to be trading near $70 before long. So,
Right, exactly.
that's how I
Yeah,
see it at least. I'm willing
yeah,
to
so
pay up,
exactly.
but I don't want to sit in this sideways trend.
Yeah, exactly. I prefer, pay a little bit more, but having more conviction in this specific trade. So, yeah, for
And
me,
look at
it's
how
for
this one's been coiling up right at that breakout level, Alfonso. This screams it wants higher to me. This does
yeah,
not look like some type of top. This looks like a
and
continuation pattern that's about to break out higher.
yeah, exactly. And the fact that we haven't, the stock hasn't even tried to fill that gap from earnings from earlier this month. It's really interesting too. It's very powerful.
Totally, yeah. This one has been rewarded for its last three earnings reports too. So the
Wow.
market loves the fundamentals here. I like that. I like that a lot.
And the technicals looking good. So that's a good combination. 44, that's the big level. So next, let's take a look. Donovan, Tesla.
Yes, I'm glad somebody brought along the Tesla today. Let's finish off with this one because this is my chart of the day right here, Alfonso.
Ooh, okay, okay.
And I think we need a little bit of context here because this is the Magnificent Seven ETF, which Tesla is a part of the Magnificent Seven.
Mhm.
And look at this textbook bull flag off of the lows. So this one rallied, let's call it 35% from that April 7th low to the May 14th peak. Consolidated there for several weeks, and here it is breaking out higher today, up 3%, trading at the highs of the day. This one looks like it wants to go back to that December peak from last year and potentially make new all-time highs. And if that's the case for these Magnificent Seven stocks, I think Tesla is going to be right there with them, and Tesla has the juice, Alfonso. You look at something like Microsoft or Apple, the stocks are kind of boring. They don't really move like they used to move. But Tesla still has the juice, and I think this one is destined to break out of this massive base and
Yeah,
go on to make new all-time highs and potentially become the most valuable company in the entire world.
I like it. I like it. And look, in the recent price action, a lot of people hate the Elon, hate the Tesla. I don't care about that. To be honest, the stock looking good. All that bearish sentiment
There's
surrounding
a
Tesla.
lot of it out there, Alfonso.
Yeah, and to be honest, it made me feel more bullish on Tesla. Right? We
Me
also
too.
saw a lot of political filings stepping in. Around 256. And it's a weight of the evidence. It carved a short-term burst to bullish reversal pattern. It reclaimed the VWAP from the all-time highs, as a confirmation, now resolving higher from this continuation pattern, this flag pattern here. I think 400 is next, and then we will see. I agree with you. This is a monster base, and yeah, and I think we will eventually will break out of that monster base above 400. So I
Totally.
like
And
it.
Riley, who writes Godspeed for Stock Market TV, you should all check that out if you haven't. It's awesome. And he's been telling me that the humanoids are coming, Alfonso. So, people keep telling me that Tesla isn't a car company, that's really a robot company. And so far that hasn't really been true, but if that does become true and they start releasing these humanoid robots and are making billions of dollars each quarter from that, the fundamental story here is pretty compelling too. I also love Alfonso how they missed top and bottom line estimates by a wide margin last quarter, but the stock still rallied. Let's see, it rallied 5% the next day.
That was the signal, my man. That
That
was the
was the
signal.
bottom. It's been
Yeah.
up only since then. I love that so much. Miss, scream higher. We've seen
Beautiful.
this story before, Alfonso.
No, beautiful setup. Beautiful setup.
Cool. So this
That's
is my chart of the day. What's your favorite chart that we saw today?
no, my favorite chart
Lemonade?
is it's the lemonade.
Yeah, I
You know,
knew it. I
again,
knew it.
I just bought some calls in the lemonade. It's setting up so nicely. There is a lot of juice in the lemonade, so I like it. I like it a lot.
Me too, Alfonso. That's a great chart. So this one also has the juice. And yeah, I'm sorry if we didn't get to your ticker today in the chat. If you want us to get to it next Monday during Chart Request Live, do not hesitate to email questions at stockmarketmedia.com. We'll put your ticker in the mailbag and we'll get to it first thing in the show. But I appreciate everybody being here. I appreciate Greg, Scott, everyone. Especially Wavy McFly, and I don't think he's ever missed one of these shows, Alfonso. He's always here bringing us a big base. I really appreciate you all being here. You make
I
this show
know.
such a blast for me and Alfonso and my other co-hosts. So yeah, let's have a good week here, Alfonso. Let's continue to trade these speculative tech stocks and make hay while the sun is shining. What do you say?
I mean, I will. I will. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Expecting us Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So thank you for joining us.
Adios, everyone.